This video series concerns Jean-Jacques Rousseau's First Discourse, the so-called Discourse on the Sciences and the Arts. And I'll be using John Scott's edited volume from the University of Chicago as the basis of it. The First Discourse, written in about the 1750s or so, is widely considered Rousseau's first great work. There is a legend that grows up about how the First Discourse came into being. As Rousseau tells the story later, he was on the road to see his friend Denis Diderot, the great Enlightenment philosophe and organizer of the first great encyclopedia. In his pocket, Rousseau was carrying a leaflet from the Academy at Dijon, which was holding an essay competition. The prompt for the competition asked an intriguing question: whether the restoration of the sciences and the arts has contributed to purifying morals. Rousseau reflected on his sudden answer to this question a dozen years later. If anything has ever resembled a sudden inspiration, it is the motion that was caused in me by that reading. Suddenly I felt my mind dazzled by 1,000 lights. Crowds of lively ideas presented themselves at the same time with a strength and a confusion that threw me into an inexpressible turbidation. Oh, sir! If I had ever been able to write a quarter of what I saw and felt under that tree, how clearly I would have made all the contradictions of the social system seen. With what strength I would have exposed all the abuses of our institutions. With what simplicity I would have demonstrated that man is naturally good, and that it is from these institutions alone that men become wicked. Man is naturally good and happy, but society depraves him and makes him miserable. This is crucially Rousseau's most famous and central insight. It is repeated in nearly all of his works, and it underlies all of his works. It will help to orient us to this insight as we approach his first great work, the First Discourse. What does it mean to say that man is naturally good? While I do not want to equate Rousseau and Christianity by any means, consider Rousseau's fundamental point in contrast with the Christian point. In the beginning, according to Christianity, men and women in the Garden of Eden lived according to the will of God, and they were happy and without shame. They obeyed God's command to eat from any tree in the Garden of Eden except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Then Adam and Eve, tempted by the serpent, ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and their eyes were opened. Through this act of defiance, sin entered the world, and human beings were henceforth conceived in sin and destined to die. Rousseau's idea about man's natural goodness follows much the same pattern, though he does not share Christian theodicy. According to Rousseau, in the beginning, man has very few needs. Only food, drink, shelter, and a woman, he later says. Natural man can easily satisfy those needs. There is not much competition between or among natural men for the goods that they want and need. Moreover, human beings are whole. What they are on the outside and what they are on the inside mirror one another. They don't deceive other people. They don't have vanity or pride. Natural man doesn't spend a lot of time comparing himself to others. It is only with the introduction of society that man comes to want more things, that competition comes into human life, and that the inside and the outside of man come into conflict. So, following the Christian pattern, Rousseau embraces the idea that man has, in some respects, fallen, or was better in the beginning. According to Christianity, this fall is sin. According to Rousseau, this fall is society's fault, though it is not only a fall, as we shall see. Through society, for Rousseau, division is introduced into the world, and through division comes unhappiness and vice. This fundamental view would have far-reaching implications for any society. All, or nearly all societies, reflect unhappiness and vice, according to Rousseau. Anything that points to society also points to these things. And this is even especially true of modern Enlightenment societies. The big issue here is this. Rousseau rejects the idea of progress, while modern Enlightenment societies are based on the idea of progress. Modern societies are proud of their institutions. Modern peoples are proud of the advances they make in modern science. They are proud of the spread of commercial arts or modern commerce as a way of achieving social peace and prosperity. It is these institutions about which modern people are proud, and about which Rousseau makes an unforgettable critique. He criticizes modern science and modern commerce as corrupting knowledge and mores. Modern people have pride in their vices. They love what corrupts them. Rousseau is the first great critic of the early modern thinkers like Francis Bacon, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Montesquieu, and others. These thinkers all embraced the benefits of modern science and enlisted modern science in the cause of knowledge. But above all, as I say, these earlier modern thinkers put forward an idea of progress, that modern science could be applied to all institutions in the human world and in the world generally in order to make the world better. The idea of progress is that what existed in the past is inferior to what exists now, and to what will exist in the future. And this is kind of antithetical to the Christian view. The traditional view is that the good is the old. The view of progress is that the good is now and in the future. With this view in mind, it is easy to see that the Academy at Dijon may have been expecting many entrants to say that the restoration of the sciences and the arts has brought about the purification of morals. That the arts and sciences have been restored, or at least are again at the center of civilization, that seems true, and Rousseau seems to agree. In that sense, he is pro-Enlightenment. There has been scientific progress, he notes. And Rousseau admires Francis Bacon, René Descartes, and Isaac Newton, whom he later calls the preceptors of the human race. That morals were being purified. Does the Academy think that is true as well? Does the very question that the Academy raises suggest that there has been moral progress? Rousseau could doubt this in two different ways. He could say that there has been moral progress, but that moral progress has not been caused by modern science. Or he could say that there has not been moral progress. And Rousseau does the latter. He questions the very idea of moral progress. And in so doing, it seems he uses the methods of modern science to criticize modern science's fundamental commitment to progress. Now there is a tension here, one that Rousseau noted well. Rousseau is going to use the insights and methods of modern science to show that modern science corrupts morals. How dare he? Does this not make him inconsistent? Rousseau recognizes this problem right there in the short prefatory statement to the First Discourse itself. How do I dare blame the science before one of Europe's most learned societies, praise ignorance in a famous academy, and reconcile contempt for study with respect for the truly learned? I have seen these contradictions, and I have rebuffed them. Rousseau stands up for virtue, but that means that he knows what virtue is, and how sciences and the arts compromise or corrupt it. To that argument, how the sciences corrupt virtue, the meat of the First Discourse, return in the next video.